If you give that to them, they will be forever grateful. These men are loyal. You give this area a chance and you won't regret it.
I do remember how it used to be where you live. You start small. I don't want to get you in over your head too soon. And I reserve the right to change my mind at any time without retaliation from you. Do you understand? You come back here the same time next week. Then we will further discuss the opportunity I will give you. I need to get some things in order before then. You can leave now.
Thank you so much, sir. You will not regret this.
I better not. Or you could end up like your father.
This statement makes Sawyer's expression flicker. It is almost like he didn't fully understand what he was getting himself into until this moment, despite being aware of how his father's life was taken by the gang. You can also see a short glimmer of hatred in his eyes, but he quickly masks it. Sawyer makes sure to wipe the scared look off of his face before he speaks again. Yes, sir. Thank you again. Sawyer exits the room alone, so he has to make the walk back through all of the men, most of who are not thrilled with his presence, by himself. As he walks through the room a second time, the men again grow silent and stare at him. He clenches his fist as he walks through the room, not because he's ready to fight, but because he is exceedingly nervous. You can literally see the sweat begin to form on his forehead and brow. As calmly as possible, he nods to the men as he approaches the exit. He opens the door, exits the building, and quickly closes the door behind him. It's very late at night. The only source of light is a dull street lamp. After exiting the building, he leans up against the wall and takes a few deep breaths. After regaining his composure, he quietly says to himself, "I cannot believe that went so smoothly." He gets back into his car and drives off into the distance. The camera will be placed overhead in a sort of bird's eye view, and only the camera movement will be tilted upwards to follow the movement of the car down the road, so it never leaves the frame. Scene 3. It is still dark outside. The camera is showing a poorly lit street. After a few seconds, Sawyer's car slowly drives into the frame and parks back at the home of he and his wife. The camera angle switches to Sawyer's driver's side door, where he opens and steps out of the car. It is very dark, but you can see that he is excited to tell his wife the news. He closes the door, maybe louder than he needed to at this time of night, and walks briskly towards his front door. The camera is now behind Sawyer, and when he opens the door, you see a blurred figure asleep on the couch. The camera refocuses to show that the figure is Sawyer's wife, Lauren. He rushes quietly over to his wife to wake her. He lightly touches her face and kisses her on her forehead. We get a close-up of her face as she opens her eyes. Her expression seems unchanged as she first wakes up. She is the first to speak.
What happened? How did it go?
It went better than I thought it would. Polly told me to give him time to put something together.
You talked directly to Polly?
Yeah. The worst part was walking into the place and everyone staring at me. They obviously remembered who I am. I remembered some of them as well.
That's terrifying. I can't imagine what it was like to walk in there, not knowing what was going to happen. I was so worried when you left, but I didn't want you to know. Sorry.
Truth be told, babe, I was worried when I left too. And I didn't want you to know either. But that part is done. Now we just have to wait for my first assignment.
When do you find that out?
I was told to come back at the same time next week, so I'll go back at night to see what they have in store for me. He said we would start small, whatever that means.
There's no telling. Are you sure you know what you've gotten yourself into?
No. How could I? How could anyone? I suppose what exactly I've gotten myself into depends on how well or poorly my jobs go. I don't expect them to go poorly, though.
I doubt anyone expects it to go poorly, Sawyer. Otherwise, why in the hell would they offer themselves up like this?
Confidence, Lauren, which is exactly what I have in myself. I think you have a little confidence in me, too, or you never would have agreed to this decision. Remember, we both sat here and discussed this only a few hours ago. If you thought it was a terrible idea, you should have said something then. The ball's already rolling now.
Then maybe I should have said something.
I don't think fighting about this is going to make it go any smoother. We need to be on the same team here. This is happening, and we're going to be better off because of it. Everything's about to change. We are about to actually have money, and it's not going to matter whether you work or not. We're going to be able to move into a nice place and actually pay our bills. No more dodging collectors and worrying about what we're going to eat for dinner. This is a good thing.
I know that is all true. I just hope it stays that way. You know, people who enter the gang have a way of not living past a certain age. Those men you saw at the warehouse tonight are the expectation, not the exception, not the rule. Sorry. My fault. Let's not forget your father was part of the rule too, not the exception.
You're right. You're right. I'll have to make sure my head doesn't get too big. And I'll always have to make the right decision. That's where my old man went wrong. He got ahead of himself and thought he was bigger than the game. I can't make the same mistake. I'm going to get ready for bed.
Maybe you have already made a poor decision. Maybe I shouldn't have let this happen.
Camera slowly fades to black. The next scene begins the morning of Sawyer's meeting with Polly. There will be roughly 30 to 60 seconds of shots that include Sawyer getting ready for work at his factory job and Lauren making sure he has had his breakfast and his packed lunch before he goes out the door. These shots will show that Lauren is concerned about what the day will consist of and that Sawyer is excited and upbeat about the day's possibilities. The final shot of this sequence will begin with the camera showing the outside of the door. Sawyer will open the door and exit the home. Lauren will be left with her upper body leaning against the door frame and the door still open. She's looking longingly after Sawyer as he leaves. It's a beautiful day. The next shot will show Sawyer pulling up at work, getting out of his car,